Hi everyone, Anthony Poundtano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of this new Smino project, Love for Rent. This is a brand new LP from St. Louis rapper, singer, and songwriter Smino, who is now on his third full-length LP as he continues to build up a pretty respectable discography, which blends elements of hip-hop, R&B, contemporary soul, and pop. Now, it's been my opinion on previous Smino albums that many of these elements assembled in a somewhat bland way. I'm sure the passionate fan base he's built up to this point will strongly disagree, but I will say this. I think Love for Rent is handily Smino's best and sharpest project yet. Of course, it is built on pretty much the same array of influences that we've heard him dealing in the past. On many tracks here, we have the eccentric vocal layering of like a Kendrick Lamar song, but with a more unique twist on it this time around. And while it does sound quite updated, the melodic triplet flows of Bone Thugs and Harmony are definitely mixed into Smino's DNA somewhere too. And it also sounds like he was listening to quite a bit of Outkast in the lead up to this LP as well. So the influences are there, the influences are clear, but more importantly, the song structures, the bars, the hooks, and the melancholic melodies just hit, which is just a mark of good songwriting as well as an increased knack for tasteful earworms that Smino seems to have on this record. Whether you're talking about the very long and gratifying song Curtains toward the end of the record, or the extremely catchy Mode in a Minute in the middle of the record, or the first full song on the LP, No L's, which has some really awesome deep bass lines, some sparkling chord progressions, and these melodic harmonized rap flows that take me back to Kendrick projects like Good Kid, Mad City, but with the R&B vibes embraced on that album pushed even further here. Next, we have the song 90 Proof, which I enjoyed as a single and love even more in the context of the record, not only for J. Cole's passionate and melodious contribution to the track, but Smino's ascending vocal lines that hit with that harmonious flair right at the end of every bar are fantastic. The chunky, mesmerizing beat that rides underneath it all is a great foundation, and plus I love the squeaky, weird falsetto inflections that he plays with on his verses. The track is just loaded with personality and color. The song Pro Freak manages to rock a lot of that same moodiness and addictive melodies, but bring more of a party vibe to the table, with a more driving beat, some sound effects, as well as wild group vocals. It pops, but there's a smoothness to it that's really nice, especially with Doechie's slick verse on the cut. Meanwhile, things on ol' Kendrick get much woozier and looser, but do so with some crazy, textured production that makes up for how sparse it is with how creative it is. Not to mention all of this space leaves a lot of room for Smino to come through with some of the most eccentric vocal ideas he has to offer. Definitely some controlled chaos happening on this track with all these cracked, erratic vocal inflections that break up the melodic lines. There are moments on the LP where I think things do get a bit too bare and atmospheric though. Euphoria is an example, Garden Lady later on the LP as well. But the song Blue Billy leaves a much larger impact, pretty funny contrast going on between the music and lyrics. Frankly, the chord progression on the track and loungy pianos come across as very romantic and sweet, but that just ends up setting the stage for Smino to paint a picture of all of these setup chicks and hitters and dealers that he knows. It's like a soft, gentle hustler's anthem. Vocal acrobatics over a very sweet and simple instrumental is pretty much the appeal of the song Matinee as well, and later Defibrillator warms things up with some of the most beautiful, elegant, and heavenly vocal harmonies on the entire project, while the track Settle Down takes a more playful approach with a persistent beat and a lot more gospel influences flowing through the vocal work on this one. Some of which borders a little bit too much on being kind of cartoony, but I do appreciate Smino throwing in a track with a little extra bite at this point on the project, which is also the case for Pudgy featuring Lil Uzi Vert, though I think this track is much smoother and much more appropriate of a banger. Plus, Uzi actually seems like he really took care to notice the vibe and the energy of the track before putting in his own contribution. I think it's one of his most complimentary features ever. There's also a really bright and gratifying finisher on the LP with some of the prettiest vocal layers on the entire project. The soul influences come through in a big way on this one. And those are pretty much the major points on the LP. I think the appeal of this album is, yes, very simple, it's not too complicated, but there is a beautiful purity to what Smino has accomplished on this album. Aside from a few tracks being a little underwhelming, I think the record's biggest sin is that it is a tad too derivative here and there, which, yes, in my opinion, was also a problem on Smino's previous projects, but it's much less so the case here. I think Smino embodies his influences a lot more effectively on this project, but also the songwriting and the melodic ideas that are displayed across the record, the choruses, are just too good to deny. But yeah, that's it. That's everything I wanted to say about this really sweet, enjoyable album with a lot of great cuts on it. I am feeling a decent 8 on this Smino record. Transition, have you given this thing a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head is another video that you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Smino, forever.